I really like Simon Sinek. I think he gives a really good example of asking for what you want. It's kind of a rude story if you think about it, just like sort of he's going to talk about cutting line and asking for what you want.
I walked up to the line, I leaned in between two people, put my hand in the box, and pulled out 2 bagels.
Some people see the opportunity, other people see what prevents them from reaching their opportunity. It's not their job to know how you feel. It's not their responsibility to know what you need. And they're not mind readers, and they're not going to know what you want. Okay, so for this trend here, we should watch this YouTube video, another Simon Sinek video. I really like Simon Sinek. In this one, I think he gives a really good example of asking for what you want. And there's a lot of really negative comments actually about the video that I'll read you a couple of. And I think it's a really interesting thing that everyone seemed to be upset about what he was saying, because I think the heart behind what he's saying is really positive. And I think a lot of people misconstrue asking for what they want. And so they'll go through this cognitive dissonance. They'll disagree with his story, which in my previous video with Steve Harvey again, I really tried to preface that video of like, hey, in the whole context of this video, it probably makes sense. And again, I really like Simon Sinek. I'm going to disagree with some of the comments that we're about to read here, but the bigger picture, right? Just like with Steve Harvey, his whole point was to learn how to condition your mind with a reward system to be more successful. And this one, it's all about asking for what you want. And in this case, I will, with Simon's story, it is kind of a rude story if you think about it, just like sort of he's going to talk about cutting line and asking for what you want. And I think the ideal is brilliant. But I kind of get how people are like, hey, like, dude, I'm waiting in line, but it's funny because no one says anything. So like, let's listen to this story.
So a friend of mine and I, we went for a run in Central Park. The Roadrunners organization, on the weekends, they host races. And it's very common at the end of the race, they'll have a sponsor who will give away something, apples or bagels or something. And on this particular day, when we got to the end of the run, there were some free bagels. And they had picnic tables set up, and on one side was a group of volunteers. On the table were boxes of bagels, and on the other side was a long line of runners waiting to get their free bagel. So I said to my friend, let's get a bagel. And he looked at me and said, the line's too long. And I said, free bagel. And he said, I don't want to wait in line. And I was like, free bagel. And he says, nah, it's too long. And that's when I realized that there's 2 ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. I could only see the bagels. He could only see the line. And so I walked up to the line. I leaned in between 2 people, put my hand in the box, and pulled out 2 bagels. And no one got mad at me, because the rule is you can go after whatever you want. You just cannot deny anyone else to go after whatever they want. Now, I had to sacrifice choice. I didn't get to choose which bagel I got. I got whatever I pulled out, but I didn't have to wait in line. So the point is you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do it the way everybody else has done it. You can do it your way. You can break the rules. You just can't get in the way of somebody else getting what they want.
What he goes on to say is you can't get in the way of preventing someone else from doing what they love or doing what they want to do. You can't basically just skip, which is kind of funny because he's actually saying skip the line, but he just said you can't break the rules. But no one said anything, which is kind of funny because people didn't ask for what they want in that moment. So the whole line didn't ask for what they want, the entire line, right? Because that's a groupthink idea, which we'll talk about here in a second, which I think is really funny about this principle of asking for what you want, living by that principle in a non-selfish way as best you can. But it's so funny because you go in and you read these things. Whole point of the video, right, is that some people see the opportunity, other people see what prevents them from reaching their opportunity. So it's a sales thing, some people see the sale, some people see all the reasons why someone wouldn't buy, and some people just go for the bagel, and other people are like, I just never even try going for the bagel. Asked for what you want, he wanted a bagel, he went for the bagel, he asked for the bagel. In this context, yes, it was kind of a rude move, right? You're just jumping line to all these people who are waiting patiently, which, it isn't the best thing or whatever, but the result, right, that you get the bagel quicker, the going for it, not overthinking it, not worrying what people think, those can be really, really positive things. Obviously, in an extreme extreme. If you don't care what anybody thinks and you're walking around town naked, that's a bad thing. You should care a little bit. There's points where you don't care, for example, and that's what we're going to talk about when we're asking about what you want. But a lot of these were pretty funny. Some people were just like, yeah, really upset for you jumping in front and all this kind of stuff. And if you're really upset, it's like, why didn't you say anything, right? And that's where people regret not asking for what they want. That's a huge reason that you ought to ask for what you want. So let's go dive into asking for what you want and not really giving up on that kind of stuff. Why do you need to ask for what you want? Because if you never ask for what you want, you'll never get what you want. You will never get what you want if you never ask. Like, nobody's going to show up in your life and just say, hey, oh, you want to be a musician? Here, let me give you lessons. Like, that is so rare. It sometimes happens with people, but usually it's because you ask, hey, I really would like to be a musician. Will you teach me? Right? You've got to have the confidence to go up to somebody and ask for what you want. It's not their job to know how you feel. It's not their responsibility to know what you need. And they're not mind readers, and they're not going to know what you want. And so you have to get in this habit and living by this principle of asking for what you want if you want to make something happen. And I've done this the wrong way before, right? I didn't ask for what I want, and then I would begrudgingly go doing things, for my boss or something that I didn't want to do, for example, and I wasn't explaining, articulating, and then I would just get upset. And what happens if you don't ask for what you want is you regret or you resent. You regret not asking, you start beating yourself up, and you're like, dang it, I should, and then you don't ask the next time, right? Or you resent someone because they're doing something and you're not communicating with them honestly, effectively, or vulnerably enough to where they don't even realize that they're, maybe upsetting you or doing something or asking you to do something that you really don't want to do. It's because you haven't asked for what you want. And a lot of the reason people don't ask for what they want is because they're really afraid of the rejection, the controversy, the argument that may ensue that is sort of like a natural thing sometimes. If you do want what you want, in this example of like a relationship or your working relationship or something like that. But most of the time when you ask for what you want, the audacity is impressive to people and they really, really appreciate it, right? So there's all these reasons they could say no, but there's I'm impressed by you asking for what you want, right? So many of you know I sold educational resources door to door for 6 years with a company called Southwestern, and it was an incredible experience, and I'm really glad I did it. And I remember my second year, we were playing a game. We play these games to make things enjoyable, have a reward system, right? Like we were talking about in the previous video. And what's interesting, we'd play this game, and it was called Bigger and Better. And if you've seen big videos about how you can, start with a penny, end with a house or something like that, it's the exact same game. So we started with a pen. And so you'd grab a pen from where you ate breakfast every morning, and every person you talk to throughout the day, you talk about 40, 50 people, you'd say, hey, I'm trading this, for something bigger or better. What would you want to trade me for? And they'd trade you something, get off their hands, and everyone would play this game with you. And it's so funny because a lot of people think that, this maybe wouldn't work or it's a waste of time and things like that, but you could actually end up with some pretty cool stuff. I would ask, and I would keep asking, and I would keep asking, and we'd keep trading, and I would trade up to something like a water bottle, and I would trade to something like this metal invention someone made, and I would train for something cool, and then I would get a really nice baseball bat, and then I would trade that for a recurve bow, and I'd have this really cool, like high quality recurve bow starting with a pen by just asking for what I wanted 50 times in a row. And it's funny because most people aren't willing to do it because they're afraid of the rejection. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh, I don't want to play. There were more people who didn't want to play than did want to play, but it didn't matter because it was a numbers game. If I just kept going, I would find somebody that wanted to trade with me, who was enjoying it, who liked that idea, who was a part of that culture, right? So sometimes it's not about being, having a great result with every person. It's just finding the right person, that's actually interested in what you're doing, for example, right? And that's where it comes into just asking what you want. I had a friend who got a truck from doing that one summer. I had a friend who got an AR-15 from doing that one summer. So you really never know what can happen. But if you have this belief in yourself and asking for what you want, you have this confidence to go do it, good things will happen. They always happen to people who know what they want. The world gets out of your way if you know what you want, and they will allow you to get it because most people don't know what they want, and they're going through life aimlessly, right? They're not leaders. Leaders know what they want and they go after it. So if you don't know what you want, start thinking about what do you want, and start thinking about why don't you ask, right? Why would you not ask for what you want? Why would you live in a life where you're not at least attempting and doing your best? Because hey, if you ask 100 people for what you want and they all say no, at least you're trying, right? You can feel proud of I always do my best, right? That's another principle that you can live by and that leaders need to develop in themselves. What's your standard, right? My standard is I always do my best, right? I always want to be striving to do my best. Do I always do my best? No, I fall short, but I'm striving to do my best. And I'm not hard on myself. I'm always encouraging myself to try to get closer and closer and catch myself when I'm not doing my best. And that's how you get really good results. That's how you can ask for what you want. That's how you can not judge things. You can control, cognitive dissonance, these, pushbacks on different things that are maybe challenging you, which I hope a lot of this is challenging you to, try to do better, right? If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you enjoy the content, please comment below with questions. I can go into a lot of different things that you want to learn about. I would love to add some value to your life in leadership. I'm all about helping you develop different leadership skills to help you have limitless career opportunities when you graduate. So you can do whatever you want, whether that's become an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer, start your own business, be an entrepreneur, whatever it is. I would like to help you develop the leadership, because leadership's going to be valuable. Leadership and communication skills are valuable no matter where you go, and that's what we're about here. If you are going to buy the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, or any of the other books that I recommend, please order them through the links in the description on this video. I do get a kickback and a commission that helps me pay for my YouTube channel and help me grow this business. Check out my fitness company if you're somebody who is into fitness, wants to get to the next level, wants to do competition shows, or is just really busy, doesn't know what they're doing. If you're anywhere on that spectrum, we can help you. Go to getstarted.elevatewellness.fit. That link's in the description as well if you would just like a free consultation to learn some more. So, okay, coming at you next week. Appreciate you guys.